Oh, okay. So, hi everyone. In this webinar about storyboards, I would like to show a workflow, a few tips, and some actual drawing in the end. A little history lesson for us all, maybe, is traditionally storyboard is used in the movie business and TV commercials, and Mr. Walt Disney is sometimes said to be the founder of storyboard. So no wonder maybe that it's so early become commonly used in movies, and today even in computer gaming industry and many other sort of industries. You see two pictures in front of you now. On the left-hand side, there's a comic, and on the right-hand side is stored now. Just for the, you see text here, for example, it says pan to follow and so on. But I'll talk a little bit more about these arrows and pan to follow in just a couple of seconds. But I will run through some basics for you, and then I do some actual drawing in the end, and showing tools in photo paint when drawing. Because sometimes I actually do make sort of storyboards using CorelDRAW. But for this particular webinar, I'll show you how I work in photo paint. So please bear with me a little bit as I may go back and forth. If I forget anything, I'll try to just go back and mention, so to speak. So I use Storyboard for several kind of projects, and primarily it is for movies. Sometimes I do it for still photography advertising, which may sound funny for some people. An art director can sometimes ask me from an advertising agency, they're going to do like a still photo shoot, and they ask me to do a storyboard, which they can show the photographer. Sometimes I do that often, and sometimes I do it very rarely, but it still happens. Of course, I do it for if it would be a TV commercial, but being also a kids book illustrator, so to speak, I do it when I work with kids books as well. And it can easily be applied to other projects, of course, and not mentioned here. For example, every time I make more than one illustration for an editorial magazine or newspaper, which I do quite a lot, I usually place them next to each other during my creative process to see how they work together. And the same I do when I work with kids books, because there is always a story to be told. Obviously the story written by the journalist or the writer who wrote the book and all that, but I use storyboards also because there's a question of tempo, style, and musicality, if you like, in how you build up a story with images and the coloring and all that composition. I will show you later a very rough storyboards that I did for myself and didn't show the book publisher when I was planning the illustrations for the specific book that I'm going to show you later on. So here we have again the comics panel, and here's a storyboard. And storyboard and comics are sometimes compared. Sometimes people would say, "Oh, storyboards, that's like comics," or comics, "Oh, that's like storyboard," and that's pretty much an answer is no, but you could see the similarities. And one of the reasons probably why they are compared so much is you have a story that they're going to tell in a timeline, and when I say timeline, there's picture number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it can go on to 80 or 100, so depending on how big the production is. But there's a timeline that you work after, which the director wants. and you usually use frames. But thing is with storyboards is that there is a sort of standard how you make a storyboard, but there is no absolute that you have to have frames, for example. Sometimes I do storyboards without any frames whatsoever. A comic, and you can see there here as well. Or let's say like this. While a storyboard usually have some sort of informative text, which I have just placed a little bit of here. Here it says pan to follow, for example. And you place it on a paper sheet or document. A comic, on the other hand, can be way more freely told in pictures and how you, the layout you make, and more freely in that sense than a storyboard. And this particular one I made today for this webinar, and it's actually a storyboard that I made for, originally made for a movie, a short movie. And this movie might be done in the future. The director who asked me to do this storyboard actually made another movie in between, and he'd been working on other projects in between that as well. But let's see, I'll open up something here for you also soon. So had it been a traditional storyboard here now, it would be looking a little bit more like this with arrows and such and directional symbols and so on. But because this is supposed to simulate a comics, which most of us have seen, I can work more freely with how I would lay out the images and how I work with the text and the bubbles and everything. And there's a lot of freedom on how you can work with comics. Now, but generally, how a storyboard is laid out is between you and the, let's say, the movie director. There is a standard way of doing it, yes, that's true, but in the end, when someone asks me if I can make a storyboard, of course I say yes, and then I said, how do you want it delivered? Do you want it on papers, or do you just want it digitally? And is there any information on the that you want specifically with scenes and setup and blah blah? And when we set that up, that's when I start to work. But just because many of us are artists and many of us want to have some artistic freedom, yes, there is some artistic freedom in making storyboards, but one have to remember, if you now would compare it with comics, is it's not a comic. And you don't make storyboards if you tend to claim too much of artistic freedom and integrity over your client's whole reason to have a storyboard made. I mean, you, I, everyone has our style. It could be one style or different styles depending on project. And you add your knowledge in drawing and drawing up, yeah, and all that and so forth. But that's usually it. And you are, when you're working with storyboard, you are, I'm going to close this one. Let's see here now. I'm going to close that a little bit. Take that down and open another one here. Take a couple of seconds here now. You know how it is when you're going to show something, it takes a little bit extra more time than it's needed. So let's put it up here so we have a little bit, show a little more of it here. Okay, anyway, so you are there to help the director and others involved in visualizing the movie, picture frame by picture frame. And if you work with storyboards for big city agencies, for making a commercial that's going to be shown on TV or the movies, cinemas, theaters, or something like that. Just that comparison, by the way, is pretty different. When I work, for example, this storyboard, which I will show just a few illustrations from, I got, okay, honestly, I did this storyboard very quickly, but usually I would have much more time doing it than would I do it for an ad agency. And when you work with storyboards for these big city ad agencies, they usually have a very bad habit, and that is to come in late and ask for your services and ask you to deliver quick and with no fuss. So therefore, it's good to follow some sort of standard, of course, for many reasons. One, they want it, and the other one, it's easy for you as well. And if I compare when I get a manuscript from a book for making illustrations for a book versus a script or something for a storyboard for a movie or a TV commercial, is that as a storyboard artist, I can get as little as a short list with just bullet points for each image, and it just says Mr. C-and-so or Mrs. C-and-so, moving from the right, dress this and so, and put some directional information like arrows, or tilt and dolly and pan to follow and all that around. But in contrast to if you get a kids book novel, you could have a whole manuscript. So just to show, look a little bit slowly while I'm talking a little bit here. Now, let's see here. Up here, for example, typical thing is to you make the drawings, of course, but when you want to present it, are you going to deliver it to your client? This director, for example, called Nima Josefi, movie director in Sweden, and this particular one is for a movie called Kilimanjaro that he shot last summer. Maybe I would have asked him, and he would said that, Stefan, can you put up somewhere I can write the scene and the setup and something like that, or maybe some additional information I could put up here. But I would not put up any more additional fields where they can write something or adds any extra if they don't ask for it. So a sheet like this could look very different from one storyboard artist to another one, and it really depends on different variables. So, but usually you put up the scene and the setup, and then you have some additional text underneath here, and then you have these arrows that you can see here. And these arrows, for example, we concentrate on them for a little bit, is maybe now these two arrows I just put in randomly. When I did the storyboard, this arrow wasn't really here, but I wanted to have it here now because I wanted to talk about it. It's called tilt. So maybe the tilt of the camera angle and so on, and how we zoomed in. Here's actually, I think I'm quite sure when I say that this image is actually the first frame in the movie, and from there on he wanted to ask me if the script says rather that start out with making this man lying in his bed, and he goes up and sit on the bedside, and we would have some extra information here, maybe here, and then I have a pan to follow. Actually, this one is not in the movie either, but I want you to see the concept and the term pan to follow. I'm going to show that a little bit later on as well. And here he sits, so it's like cinematic going up. And later on in movies, here's another picture, one of the last scenes in the movie. They're standing in some sort of a garage. And you also see the style here. It's when we started making this storyboard, we decided the style, as I think I said before, and we decided to have a kind of a loose, freely, not too detailed style. And here's on the other side when let's see, yeah, here's pan to fold. This would not pan to fold dolly. It's like we zoom in on these guys, and then it flips, and we see them from the outside, and we move away from the garage, so the arrow would show that we move out. So, and here's another arrow that could show you that the car drives to the right in one scene, and another scene we drive to the right. And now, why do I have black and white here and color here? Well, that's actually Nima's fault. He asked me to do just that. A few frames he wanted to have in color, and the other ones in black and white. Nothing special in that. And here's another scene from the same movie. And here we see the guys in a sort of hallway. The movie is actually about two guys going who want to go to Mount Kilimanjaro. I don't know if I should tell you the end. Hush, hush, don't say anyone. Thing is, they never come to the Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay, sorry if Nima is hearing this. Anyway, it's a great movie anyway. And here we see the guys in between the beds. His wife dies, and that's where you, in the beginning, see him lie in a bed, and it's empty. And later on, in other scenes, we're going to see it with her in the bed and all that. As I mentioned, arrows is very good. I usually make these arrows. Here's like a lot of different arrows that I have. Sometimes I just sit and make new arrows, like these one I've used for a while, and then I just make new ones, just for the sake of it. And I can do them in vector style as well. And that really depends on the style. If I want to have, if I like to have hand drawn, so they follow the style of the drawings here, or if I make it like in vector. And I can really recommend doing this, having a set of different symbols, like making frames and all these kind of stuff that you may have to change, because the movie directors and other clients, they are not so different from other clients. You know, you sit there and you have everything done, and they've told you to, could you please put that arrow here, that dolly arrow there, just keep it, that's fine, you decide it, you do it, and it's fine. And then suddenly she comes back and say, hey Stefan, can you change that? It's not going to be like that. We're gonna come in from the right or the left, or even from the top, or anything like that. Well, just imagine if you have hand drawn this image, and if this has to be erased or removed, sometimes the arrows and everything comes into the picture where it would take a lot of time consuming to sit and redraw and sometimes parts of the image and all that. So instead, if you have an arrow, you can just drop in and you know, turn around and move as you like. It saves time for you and for everyone, and it's really nice to have it like that. So if you can do a lot of things like your own assets, that's recommended, of course. And when it comes to storyboarding, if you would like to draw the drawings by hand on paper, that's perfectly okay. I personally, at times I've done it draw by hand on paper in my sketchbook, and that's perfectly fine. But again, when it comes to these, the time, and the time is of essence all the time right now. So usually it takes a lot of time to draw something by hand, in the sense you have to scan it, take it into the computer, maybe have to image adjust it a little bit depending on what color of your paper and blah blah and all that. And then you have to, maybe you sit and draw arrows, and then again, if they want you to change something, you know, it takes a lot of time. So that's why I moved to make storyboards mostly digital now, basically 100% digital. So take away that, and I'm just going to show a little bit here now. Let's see here. To show this other one that I was talking about. Here's a picture that a publisher, a book publisher, when I use Storyboard for creating a comics book, a kid's book, they never see these. So if the publisher would see this webinar, for example, they would see how the first images actually look for the whole book. The book is called Rizzo, and it's targeted for 9 to 12-year-olds, and it's basically about a kid who is a rat and like to be a race driver. And it's coming out this year, but I draw the whole, all the illustrations last year, and I finished off I make the cover as well, draw the illustration for the cover, and then I design and lay out it in, as usual, I was going to say in CorelDRAW. So I make the cover design and everything, and all the drawings inside the book. So I was commissioned to make, on top of the cover, I was commissioned to make 10 black and white illustrations for the book. And when I got a manuscript, I got a lot of pages, a thick bunch of papers, and I read the whole book. I always do that, read the whole book, and started to take out what scenes I think is good for the book, what really tells the story in a good way. And after my initial doodles on the manuscript, I start to make small thumbnails in my sketchbook. Here's an A4 size sketchbook, a little bit taller than the letter size if you're an American. And so here's actually the first illustration. As you can see, here's the illustration number 1, 2, and when I draw, I changed and understood that number 3 actually comes here, and so 4th and 3 changed and all that. But I started to get a sense of what sort of images, which images was going to be made, and get a kind of an overview. But here's the actual first doodles, as I said, and here are the images. You don't see everyone, but you're going to see a few of them. Let's see. I want you to come a little bit closer to select it. That's it. Yeah. So from this one here, from this one here, that's where he sits on the bed, to here. I find Storyboard extremely good when I'm planning a book, and I can highly recommend it if you already do kids books, or if you're having a project coming. Try to work in this way. You will save a lot of time instead of just making. I mean, it works if you're just taking one picture at a time, but if you get some sort of storyboard, you'll get that from the distance view, which is really good. And there's also good features in CorelDRAW and PhotoPaint. Of course, I'll show you a little bit slower here. Here's one. Here's Rizzo, for example. He's reading the note, and this is this little room in the attic by his grandmother, at his grandmother's house. And here's the first Actually, the very first picture that actually kind of starts the book, when Rizzo is coming to the garage, there's a little street where there's a lot of driving teams, you know, the formula teams. They have their own garages, and he walks into this Ramirez racing team. And in this scene, he actually got a bucket of oil on himself. poor kid. And here's the first race and the start. And it's called Kumla Ring. Kumla is a place in Sweden. And here's one of the scenes when he's meeting the talking with the team, and he says he want to be a race driver. So now let's see, and just let me show page sort of view. I think page sort of view is a really good feature in CorelDRAW. Because as much as I work in photo paint, I like placing images, illustrations that I do in photo paint, to put them on pages in CorelDRAW this way, because yes, there are Corel Connect, which I love a lot, to sit and see the pictures and have a traditional image view and see them and all that. But I like seeing them also like pages like this. So I try to use different ways of using this like some sort of a timeline storyboard concept again. And yeah, but before I talk too much about that, let's see if I have something here, because I want to show a couple of things in Corel and Photo Paint as well. Now let's see here now. I think we actually can close that down. I do that, and we open Photo Paint instead. When I work, let's see if we can, I'm going to show you that dialog in a few seconds again. We open Rizzo again. Now let's let it be here for the moment. If this would be Rizzo, for example, I would see all the images that I do here in the timeline here. Sort of a timeline. It's not the right word, but anyway, you see my point. I would then see all images, illustrations that I do, and see how they look together. Let's see if I can open. Let's see here. Let's let that be for a moment. So I use CorelDRAW quite a lot, and when I'm making illustrations, because as I said, it gives me a sense of how everything looks together. So now let's see here now. I was thinking, let's see here now so I don't forget. It was something else. Yeah, working with storyboards, there's a if you're working with storyboards, for example, for movies, for TV or movie theaters, there's always a sort of an aspect ratio you have to have in mind. And not all movies today are made in CinemaScope, but if someone asks you, say, hey, I'm going to make a movie, I'm going to have it in CinemaScope, it's going to be big, wide, fancy, you say yes, but you need to know what that is. What is the size and the aspect ratio of CinemaScope? And maybe if you want to do it for a TV, it's going to be shown on a TV, a regular old standard TV, you know, what we call here over here in Sweden a thick TV instead of a flat TV. Maybe that would be something, an aspect ratio of 16:9 or 4:3, or and other measurements like 2.39 and 1 and all that. But what does that actually mean in pixels and all that? Well, a widescreen a widescreen high definition camera format in pixels can be any one of the following, and I'm going to show it, say it quickly fast, because I want to show a couple of features in PhotoPaint as well. I see the time is rushing for us a little bit, but one is actually 190, 1920, and 1980. Oh boy, you can actually buy laptops today which would have a screen with that resolution. By the way, quite nice screens. And so you see, when I wrote that, I got that width, and if I would choose another one like for a standard TV, it would be not so wide, for example. But I wrote a tutorial that you can find on Corel.com where I actually take up that, mention these aspect ratios and measurements in pixels, and I could highly recommend that. So try to go on Corel.com and see if you can find it there, or CorelDRAW.com or Corel.com. I'll have to figure that out. Or somewhere there it is anyway. So I'll click that down, and no, we can have that up. When I'm working with multiple images for storyboard, I sometimes need to, the director says, okay, I'm going to have 10 or like 3 or 5 frames in the beginning of the film. The horizon is going to be the same. So I want the horizon to be at the same spot all the time. It's good to use guidelines for that. No, sorry, that's my autosave. Anyway, so I could recommend then, if you make a one image file that you then simply save in like 3, 4, 5 times, so you have the guidelines set up, because the guidelines is going to follow you even when you rename them, so you have that set up. One of the new fantastic, wonderful, I just love them, is the new rotate guidelines in PhotoPaint. And for old-time users of PhotoPaint like myself, you know that this is quite new. Sorry. To actually sit and rotate guidelines in PhotoPaint, wow, what a thing, isn't it? And it's very, very helpful when you're sitting and drawing. I mean, obviously when I draw, now let's see, where is object? There it is. I don't need guidelines all the time when I draw. I know perspective quite a bit, but we all have our days when our hands doesn't follow us as good as they should, and to just be able to play some guidelines in front of us is such a nice thing, isn't it? So I'm just playing around a little bit here now, but I really recommend using rotating guidelines for that reason. And now that's it. Oh, I see the time is running here. But let's see, so I don't forget. Sorry for forgetting a little bit here. But do take a look at these guidelines, the rotating guides. I want you to do that, because when you work, as I said, on a tight deadline, it's really good, as good as it is when you work in CorelDRAW, to really set up the guidelines right away. Now let's see if we can do it like this. We close that one, and one of the things is that when it comes to comics and any kind of illustration and storyboard and all that, when you want to color something, let's see if we can usually always do like that, open an extra. If I would draw something here now, like just something here now, let's see, I don't know if I decided what to draw. I think I'm going to draw a man. I don't know how this is going to look because I haven't prepared this specific guy anyway. So I'm just drawing something here because I want to show you a way of coloring. And if this would be a scan image or just drawing like this, freehand like that. Oh, okay, sorry. And you want to color this. One of the really good features would be to actually use merge modes. It doesn't say merge mode here. Once it actually did, I think it was, but yeah, when we hover over, we see that it's called merge modes. One of the good things is using either if darker or multiply. And what they do, if you don't already know, is that they sort of color underneath. Let's see here now. Here's the question. Without damaging the outlines. So just think about this as if this would be hand-drawn on paper, you would actually not destroy your outlines in any way. And this is also, I use this basically all the time, but also when you do with hand drawings and all that on paper, it really saves a lot of time instead of using other techniques and so forth. And because I think now let's see here. Yeah, I think I'm going to end here a little bit, Cecile, and because I see what time it is, and I wouldn't mind a couple of questions actually.
Yep. Thank you, Stefan. We have a couple of questions, but if you want, you can continue a little more if you need to for the next 5 minutes while people are sending their question, as you prefer.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can draw a little bit while questions are coming in, and I'm just showing that I'm using multiply and all that. Yeah.
Just one question that might be very appropriate to now. John is asking if you are using a tablet on the stylus versus a mouse.
I'm using a Wacom tablet Intuos. I always use it, and I do use mouse, but not for drawing, not at all. Drawing, always tablet, the pen.
Okay, thank you. Well, if you want, like people on the phone, don't hesitate to send me your questions. And in the meantime, Stefan, you can continue for an additional 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, let's see what I should continue with them. Yeah, another thing, just remember also when you're working to try to explore the object docker. What was new with X5 and still around, of course, in X6 is group objects. And do try to use them and explore them, because it's really good to be able to make groups and so on, and it will help you a lot when you, for example, if you have a set of colors for a dress, for example, or text or whatever, that you can divide them in different groups. And when you work with groups, you can actually work with groups within groups and all that. That's really good. And one other thing also is that is to do explore, if you haven't done it already, use the lens objects. This is really, really good. Good when you're image adjusting photographs, but also if you scan in hand drawings or something else you've drawn or painted and you want to image adjust them but you don't want to destroy the original. And what it actually does is, let's see if I take brightness here and just do like that. What it actually does is that it add an adjustment, but it haven't destroyed the underneath. So that's also a very neat feature. I just want to say that, and I mentioned these very quickly, but I use them quite extensively, even when I do very simple drawn storyboards as well. So do explore them. Any more questions?
Yep, Stefan. Yogita, hi Yogita. Thank you for joining. He's asking, what is a pan to follow? It seems that you have used the term pan to follow.
Pan to follow is a term, so to speak. Many of these pan to follow and arrows may be when the director wants the cameraman in the end. She asked me to put them in, and they want to show the cameraman, for example, and others how to move the camera, like going from the right to the left, and how you follow with so sort. So it's yeah. Many times I don't use pan to follow, but they just put in an arrow and tilt and whatever, that's fine. And sometimes they ask me to write or add a pan to follow. Yes.
Thank you. Roger is asking, do you ever use your original sketches as templates to draw over?
Oh yeah, yeah. To be honest, I was going to show you that drawings on paper, but you know, when you're going to show something just disappear. But yeah, I never walk out from home when I'm going to work or anything without my sketchbook and my pens. I would feel naked, so I do a lot of hand drawings in my sketchbooks, and when I scan the drawings and I take them up in PhotoPaint, that's when the if dark and multiply comes into play a lot, because when I color them, I use basically extensively these merge modes, if dark, multiply, or anything else that works for the particular image. Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Okay, Stefan. Yes. So Ken is asking, can we have a copy of this webinar? Ken, this webinar is being recorded, so I will post on YouTube the webinar, and as soon as it will be available, you will have the information either through GoToWebinar message or on our Facebook, Twitter, and CorelDRAW.com pages. John is asking, can you explain again how you put the shading over your line work without destroying the line work?
Oh yeah.
Is the shading on a separate layer?
Yeah, what I show now is that I don't show so many objects, what you would call layers, I guess, but we call it object in PhotoPaint. I can have a lot of objects here, and every single color I put is usually a new object or layer. So now let's see here, take that away here. So I would probably just make another one here. I could actually combine these ones as an object, but I would work with, so I have to remove a little thing here for us. Now let's see, take a darker, for example. Many times when I work with shades, I actually work with 100% black and then use the opacity in combination with the multiply or if darker. And as you can see, this object is on top of the actual drawing, and if this would be a drawing on paper, would be the same effect. It's on top, so usually if I put normal here, now it's opacity here, but you see if I take a red one here, for example, it would just cover the whole thing. But because I use multiply or if darker or anything else here, it kind of goes underneath and would not destroy the original. That's the really neat thing with this one. For example, would we use magic wand or something like that to select something here. It would not at all be as good as using the merge mode. So if you today use masking tools to coloring, for example, a comic, a graphic novel or storyboard or any kids books or whatever, I would highly recommend using these features instead. Yes.
Excellent. Yep. Very impressive. I hope then we answered your question. Another question. Pinaz is asking if he can get in touch with you, Stefan. It seems that it's the first time he's doing a storyboard and he would like to get your suggestion.
Oh yes, he can send me an email, and if he sends your email to you, and you can give it to me maybe.
Yeah, okay. So I will ask him to send me an email, and I will put you in contact for sure. I'm not sure, but he's asking about either do you have any recommendation in terms of book or course to learn how to use PhotoPaint?
I would actually, there's no particular book only about PhotoPaint for the moment. There is one old that I have in my bookshelf, but I would rather recommend a totally new book, and it's not only about PhotoPaint. It's actually called Bring It Home, CorelDRAW, but it's actually a very, very good book. I would recommend that, and maybe there is a book, DVD by Foster D. Coburn at Unleashed. Maybe he has a DVD on PhotoPaint. Maybe. I'm not sure if that's out or if it's planned to come out. But no, not for the moment. Maybe I should write one. Yes.
Yes, maybe. That would be great. We can talk about that later.
Oh, thank you.
So Silvio has asked, hi Silvio, the arrows, he's asking about the arrows indicate the camera movements are interesting. What kind of signs do you use to indicate to the cuts of scenes and possible transition, such as fade in or fade out?
Wow, yeah, there was.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I understand the question.
Yeah?
The thing is that there was quite some time someone asked me to put a symbol for fade out, but I would actually like to show the symbol instead. But usually I remember there was for a commercial of an ad agency, and they just say right fade out arrow right or something like that. But I can connect with Silvio later on, maybe a little bit about that, if that's okay.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Bud is asking what the book you recommended. He didn't catch the name.
One book that I highly recommend. It's a lot of CorelDRAW, but I highly recommend it. It's written by a man called Roger Wombold, and it's called Bring It Home with CorelDRAW. I highly recommend it. It's fantastic. I think you can find it at Corel.com and Corel Stone Store.
Yeah.
Great book.
So, but I'm going to send you directly the link to check about the book. You will get more information.
And that is not only about PhotoPaint, it's CorelDRAW, but it's a really good book. I recommend everyone to use it, to have it. I have it myself, and it's wonderful.
Okay, great.
Maybe he can also look at Unleashed.com or something like that, because Foster at Unleashed Productions, I think it maybe have a DVD about Photoshop. But I'm not sure. I just remember there was something about it, but I can't say any name because it was like a year or two I heard about it. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going also to send him the Foster's URL.
Yep.
I have another question. Do you draw things that you see in France, Paris? I don't know if you have been in France, Paris. You are living in Stockholm, Sweden.
I've been in Paris many times. So the question is if I have drawn any images from Paris?
Yeah, France.
Oh, yeah, but I have to dig a little bit in my sketchbooks because I've been in many other European towns since then. I've been traveling in Italy, Germany, England, London. But yes, one of my dreams, I told my mom when I was 16, was to go to Paris. And being an artist and in Europe, who doesn't want to go to Paris? I've been there many times. Wonderful. So, yeah. But it's in my oldest sketchbooks, though, and not on my website for the moment. Sorry for that. Yes? Cecile? I think you may be on mute. Can Cecile hear me? Cecile is probably there. Maybe it is.
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So, well, anyway, it's we are about 3 minutes to finish, so we don't have any further questions. So thank you very much, Stefan, for sharing some of your techniques today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. I think it's I had great feedback on the line, so it seemed that a lot of people loved your webinar. And again, the webinar has been recorded, so will be available for future viewing. So on corel.com/webinars. So again, thank you, Stefan. If you'd like more information about CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6, if you'd like, for example, to download the free trial version, it's a 30 days free trial version. You will find it on corel.com/CorelDRAW. Sorry, I have another question. Where can I see this webinar? So if you go on corel.com/webinars, you go to the webinars page of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. The link to YouTube will be available in about 2 days. So also you can check in 2 days directly in the CorelDRAW YouTube channels. There are all the webinars that have been recorded are available also on the CorelDRAW YouTube channel. Again, yeah, I was talking about the free trial available on corel.com/CorelDRAW. For your information, next month's webinar will happen on Thursday, the February 14th, so easy to remember. It will be on the Valentine's Day at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Maurice Burmer, who is a graphic designer, an illustrator, and CorelDRAW Master, will explore several new features of, again, Corel PhotoPaint X6. So it seems that we have a high interest on Corel PhotoPaint. So it will be based on Corel PhotoPaint X6, and he will show you how to create textures. And we hope to see you in. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you to all of you for attending this great webinar. I wish you all the best for the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.